Blaine, hey Ian, thank you so much for making yourselves available.
Of course. Such
It's
short
good.
notice.
It's good to be here. Your apology was well taken from the last time,
Yeah.
and our credibility has been restored. But we're now going to watch you today and make sure that you're not brainwashing or bamboozling your audience.
Well, I might be. And by the way, I'll start off with an apology just in case, okay? And you can use it whenever required, right?
So here's the problem with Englishmen. The Englishmen apologize when the wind blows for getting in the winds in the way of the wind.
Yes.
Problem is they don't mean it because they know they're the best motherfuckers on the planet,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Well,
Englishmen are always apologizing because we are some arrogant pricks. Yeah.
yeah, well, I've been foiled. Ian can see right through me, see through my behavior. Now, I'll have all the links in the description below. People can go and follow Ian on X and his Substack, and Blaine on Dangerous Intellectuals podcast, and follow him on X because you do great stuff, both of you. And our last video was about what happened in Venezuela with the oil tanker, and what you said was it's not about the oil. There's something else on that, and it was a really great conversation. And I think where we could go in this video is how that incident ties in with the national security strategy. And I just want to let you may not know this, but I did an hour-long conversation with Susan Kokinder from Promethean Action going through that. And I've actually just read the first 4 pages of the national security strategy. I've yet to go through it all. But I suppose it ties in with that incident in Venezuela with the Monroe Doctrine. Would that be right?
It's part of it. It's so the campaign against the cartels is a global campaign. This just happens to be a region where you're seeing some things that is running parallel and complementary to a separate issue, which is we're going to now start insisting that our neighborhood is safe for Americans, and we're going to insist that our hemisphere, much like the original Monroe Doctrine, is got our watchful eye and attention, and we took our eye off this prize. And so that can mean not just military stuff. That can mean, hey, we don't like being outcompeted by the Chinese 50 ways from Sunday every second of the day here in South America. We don't like Russian and Iranian influence in places that we should be competing better. And it doesn't mean we're going to play dirty tricks to, oh, hey, China, Iran, you're out of here. It's no, we're going to start setting up trade deals, arrangements, diplomatic arrangements that are much more favorable between Southern American states and Northern America and North America. And this is a general direction you're seeing now. If you've only read 4 pages of this, Rich, make sure you are very calm when you read page 31, because as a European, that's a doozy. That's a whopper. You're going to have a real problem with that page. So don't do it right before bed.
I may not have a real problem with that page. I'm sure I agree with Trump's sentiments. And Susan and I did talk a lot about that, right, in the second part of my conversation with her. Okay, so what struck me about the national security strategy in the first 4 pages is an end to the US bombing other countries into democracy and Western values. No more global intervention like Bush did, like Obama did, but it's more about protecting America and American interests, which I suppose is what any non-imperial, non-hegemonic nation would want to do. You know, like, let me think. Senegal. Senegal doesn't go around conquering other nations, but it's interested in protecting its borders and its local
It's the
interests.
size of my fingernail.
I know. It just came to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but listen, and you know the Senegalese, they want to. If they could.
Oh, that's exactly right.
It's in their hearts. Come on.
Somebody put up the other day, some black lady put out the other day that, African nations don't go invade other people. I was like, because you're all too busy fighting yourselves to build up the industries
But the
necessary.
action is all there.
Okay.
Right now, to your point, Rich,
Yep.
This is not about anti-imperialism. Imperialism is not necessarily a bad thing. Look at Byzantium. Look at other empires, and the Chinese Empire and other things in history. It's the form of British Roman imperialism that we've been adhering to in this last century or so as Americans. Before that, we were trying to be separate from that. But it's that European Rome 2.0 imperialism that requires we go out and keep bombing people. True imperialism, like the Monroe Doctrine, which was a form of imperialism, and very much to what Blaine said, we have tens of millions of people in this country that need to go home to South and Central America, much less the tens of millions that need to go elsewhere. Well, How are you going to do that when we keep bombing their homes? It's far better for us, one, to stop bombing their homes on behalf of, the British system, the British, Dutch, Venetian system, Roman system. And it's far better for us to do exactly as Blaine said, do trade deals, do business, do mutual security, mutual defense, not the security, but mutual defense pacts. And very much to the China part, well, how do you outcompete China in the Western Hemisphere? Well, we're right here. Our logistic supply chains and costs, therefore, vastly lower. I actually, to be quite frank, from my experience in these parts of the world on the ground, not way up there in the sky with you guys with your tea and crumpets.
Oh, no, tea up there. Come on.
Right. Okay. Methamphetamines and crumpets.
Now you get there.
It's been my experience that people hate the NGOs more than the bombing.
Yes, they do. With good reason.
People in those regions.
With good reason. There's your colonialists. Yeah. Those are your modern day conquistadors. Those are the ones coming to rape and exploit all your family, steal from you. Just ask any Haitian how much they love NGOs and watch the fire fall right out of their face.
I have in Afghanistan, right? In Afghanistan, in the Philippines, in Bangladesh, and elsewhere, I had more vitriol about not the killing, not the fighting, not the war, but about the USAID and NGOs.
Yep.
Bill Gates. Oh my gosh, the vitriol about the Gates Foundation.
Yep. I shut them down in Kyrgyzstan. They were really messing up our mission, and they were getting the Kyrgyz so pissed off at Americans that I absolutely used Petraeus to blunt them. It's like, you're actually hurting our mission.
In the book, Blaine, you remember The Ugly American, right?
Yeah.
The extraordinary book. In The Ugly American, they already touched on the NGO problem. Mm-hmm. Now it's only become 100 times worse because the State Department used to do some of the things the NGOs do, but now all the NGOs do it. But the biggest hate in the world is against the NGOs.
No question. Not even close. It's not even close.
And oh, by the way, some of the worst atrocities that are committed by the security teams of the NGOs.
No doubt. No doubt. And, when you hear the words public-private partnership, run. Just wherever you hear that, get the hell out of there.
That's Praetorians. Devil's Legion. That's the double blacks from the last conversation.
Amen.
Right?
Yep.
And unfortunately, I had a fight with my elderly father about this, who's, very deep blue Englishman, American Englishman. But
did you work him over?
Family. No, he's 78. He's got issues now. But it was all about USAID, and I'm sitting there at the table, and I was like, oh, I've watched USAID get entire villages killed.
Yeah.
Right. Change the dynamics, go in there and intentionally destroy things. We think we're doing some water project, and then two people show up from USAID and fundamentally change the dynamics.
Yeah.
Right. So back to, if I might, just to bring it back real fast, Rich, for you. The Monroe Doctrine was an imperial doctrine. Mm-hmm. But it was a healthy imperial doctrine, not this corrupted, extracted imperial doctrine, the Roman imperial doctrine that we wound up executing. And if you want the guy who started this conversation publicly and actually even was the last person to be part of a coup, even though he turned it in, was Smedley Butler.
Yep.
Smedley Butler wrote a book in the 1920s, I think, called War is a Racket. And what he was doing, two-star?
Yeah,
two-star.
He was
two-star. He's the only person to be nominated for the Medal of Honor 4 times. Well, that's not true. Colonel Howard was, but he turned it down all but 1 time or 2 times. But Smedley Butler was the one who was initially calling out how we were going off the intent, right? The letter of the intent of the Monroe Doctrine. That was a century ago.
Right. Which would have been around that the British Empire was flailing and dying and doing what it could with the Federal Reserve and the First World War to get a grip on.
Correct. And it was embedding itself in Venezuela, in Colombia, in Argentina, of course. They've been raping Argentina for a century.
No
quite
doubt.
Literally.
Well, look at today's rape. Look at today's rape today. Who's now in the Ukrainian-Russian peace process? Well, that would be the mother of all NGOs, WEF commander Larry Fink of BlackRock. And now he is sitting at the table. And what is that about? That is about the extraction of what's going to be left of that country. That's all that's going to be about.
Okay.
Here's what I think, though.
Just on that, is that the British putting the British Europeans putting them in, or is it Trump he's really working with. He's a really
No,
big,
terribly sorry. Trump sadly doesn't have the ability to keep Fink from the table.
That's right. He doesn't.
That's
Especially
the
with that
British
WEF hat on.
heroes.
Especially
Correct.
with that WEF hat on.
That's $22 trillion, and then it's WEF.
Yep.
And oh, by the way, what's his last name? Fink.
Fink.
He's a frickin' Fink, right?
He is.
In the English language.
That's the nicest thing you could say.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. He is the commander of the Praetorians at this point.
Senior manager. Yep.
Well, most
can't
commanders are
Trump
senior
keep him away
managers.
keep him away from the peace process?
Too much wealth and power and connections, and too much damage to Trump if he tried to do that. Sometimes you have to take the devil with you on your own plane.
Very true.
Sometimes.
Very true.
But Putin could say, no, we're not going to do this.
Well, that's probably what's going to happen.
I think that's what's going to happen, and Trump is going to be cheering him on.
I think that's Rich is very good. I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Which gets us back to the national security strategy, which I knew you
wanted. There you go.
Rich, which is, I want you to think about 3 letters and tell me what they mean to you. It's kind of a Rorschach test verbally done. ARC, A-R-C. What do you think about that?
America, Russia, China, and
you said it, not me. I didn't say it.
The core 5 as well, adding Japan and India.
No. Nope.
No.
Nope. I'm going to tell you something. Quite frankly, I think we're going to go to war.
Listen, I'm trying really hard to be a good, keen student. Right?
No, Japan is actually being given its independence and freedom.
Right.
That's right.
Japan is going its own way again for the first time in 80 years. I also personally believe more and more and more every day in the bottom of my gut that we're going to war with India. That we're already at war with India.
Yeah.
But not so much with India or the Indian peoples, but with the British control of India.
Right.
But I suspect that the last piece of the removal of the British Empire from the world to do all the malevolence it's done is India. And we're being riddled through and set up for that fight.
Well, they wield significant weapons on our own soil here in the United States.
Correct.
And
everywhere, even in South and Central America, in Canada.
They're not small. And
Africa,
if you think Larry Ellison's not on their team, you are wrong. Dead wrong. In fact, the creepy things coming out of his mouth these days are so over the top, confident and arrogant. He's saying the quiet part out loud. We're going to surveil every damn thing you do. My advice: behave. Well, that's a threat, and he's doing it on behalf of them.
Well, it's the foot soldiers for the tech lord, for the techno feudalism, are all Indians.
Yeah, that's right.
The foot soldiers and managerial class and leadership are all Indians, and they're everywhere. Yeah. And they are all purely a British construct.
That's right.
And they are all over South and Central America as well.
Big tools, big weapons.
Well, Blake, big weapons. You and I did a video with Jana London from Ireland, American in Ireland, and you mentioned how, I don't know if it was in that video, but I heard that the shops in Ireland are now being run by Indians. And this is a country which, I don't know, 10 years ago was largely homogenous, didn't go around colonizing, was colonized itself.
Yeah, all on purpose.
There are 1,500. I have good friends in Ireland. Yeah. I actually, funny little aside, for over 50 years, I was raised to believe by my mother, my biological mother, that my father's from Ireland. Turns out he's English.
Right.
Boy, that ripped me apart, right? Because I thought, England was the enemy as an Irishman, right?
Now you're
as half Scot and half Irish. Well, no, now a lot of shit makes sense. But I've got good friends in Ireland. We talk about this every few days. They're flooding 1,500 a week in there even now.
Yeah. They're cooked. They're not going to protest their way out of this problem.
And now von der Leyen, right? Von der Satan, as Tom says, I think, or Alex
von der Satan.
Says.
Yeah.
Von der Satan, right? Zig Heil's daughter.
Yeah.
She comes out today or yesterday, whenever she did the speech, and says they're going to open up the spigot for Indians into Europe legally.
And they're going to start fighting every day the countries like Poland, Hungary, and the
don't take them.
We're not taking them. They just toppled the Bulgarian government not 3 hours ago.
So if you are taking and forcing upon a people another population, that is by definition an invasion.
Yeah, and it's
right. That's
destroying the local cultures, the indigenous. I notice when I go into local shops where I work that the staff, they're all Indian. Now, I got nothing against Indians, but these are entry-level jobs that should be done by local Britons.
Wait a second. You're Pakistani. You don't have a problem with Indians?
I don't have a problem. I love all the people.
How good a Pakistani are you?
I don't know. I'm more human than Pakistani.
You're saying you're not going to sign up for the ant program that Sasha Kreiner tells us about?
Okay.
Right.
Sorry, I'm not a black ant. I'm not a red ant. I'm just an ant and want to be left alone.
That's right. Personal story, right? So I've been married, with my fabulous wife. We've been married for 26 years, together for 28.
Congratulations.
Long-term relationship before her for 7 years was with a Hindu.
Mm.
That was interesting for my family when they found out. But otherwise, I love all the people. So, but I'm going to charge both of you, not to besmirch you at all, but just to push back.
Oh, please.
Right?
I'm enlisted, man.
Easy, big fella.
Yeah.
Well,
He's an
I know-
officer. His feelings get
very
hurt. I'm
sensitive.
an enlisted man, so whatever.
That's right. That's right.
Let's trounce the
It's really-
sweaty.
This is really for you, EM. Okay,
There you go.
because Blaine's enlisted and educated.
He's an officer. He's higher level.
Yeah,
you know,
higher
whatever.
level, right?
And he's Air Force. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
refined.
I'm vulnerable.
Yeah.
Hold me.
But isn't this just pure racism? You just don't like people of color. You don't like people of from India. I mean, what's wrong with them?
I never had a problem with people from India until they started invading my lands and started replacing people and started being. So here's the thing: I still don't have I do have a problem with the managerial class who knows what they're doing. I do have a problem with the British, the brown-skinned British, because that's what they are. The common Indian person who's just looking for a better opportunity in life, I don't have a problem with them, but they have to go.
Here's the
They
thing.
have to go. They're being used.
Yeah.
And I do not have to allow my home to be overrun. My house. You got to think about our country as a house, because that's
Practical.
for all intents and purposes. And I don't have any. There is no writ of God or anything of law or anything else or any law that they pass that justifies or enables them to be able to flood my house with people that I didn't want in my house.
Mhm.
And at some point, if they keep pushing, I'm going to start shooting.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
Sorry,
just
Blaine.
But just a quick historical deal. This country, the United States is an idea. It's not necessarily a homogenous culture that you can give an identity to, but the mix of all the peoples here comes to an American identity under the experiment called the United States Constitution. So in our history, we have people coming from many lands, but the proposition has always been, you will come here and you will become an American, and you will merge into what we called at the time a great melting pot. You come from India, that's fine, but brother, you're going to be an American. Now, what's happened is we went to in the 70s, the progressives really started lighting up this idea of multiculturalism, which is come to this land, stay who you are, stay in your part of the city. Don't change anything. Don't try to become French. Don't try to become British. Don't try to become German. We saw this with the Germans and the massive amounts of Turkish folks that came into their country. That was great. But in Europe especially, it wasn't just multiculturalism. It was, you will never be a German. So do understand that. Now, they've been intentionally brought in and encouraged that cultural destruction here, the European cultural destruction, we're fine with it. And that's where Sasha gets to red ant, black ant. We're going to close the jar and shake it like hell, and you're all going to fight each other, because they know if they keep people locked up in divisive modes, meaning I'm here, I'm Muslim, and by gosh, we're going to have Sharia law now in Texas, and I said so, because eventually there's going to be more of me than there are of you. That's where we get to EM's place right now, which is, oh, the hell you are. Where EM and I live. We live in the state of Idaho, a little rugged, a little rough cut. And there are some cultural norms here. So fine, come here and be from Idaho. We're having this problem with Americans, where Californians are coming here and they want a California or Idaho. So they destroyed their state. Now they're here and they're like, oh, well, we should do all the laws that we did in California. And we're like, get lost. We're not interested. So now in an international sense, that's what you're left with. So it's not about racism. They would love it to be. They want to put a label on it. Anytime a skin color is mentioned, they'll immediately pull the R card out. But it is so much more complex than that. Cultural destruction is the thing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to quibble a point with you, sir.
Quibble,
Okay.
quibble.
Okay, and not with you personally, but with the narrative. Okay. Yeah. The only people who care about flooding people into our country or who want them here at all are people who measure the worth of our lands in GDP.
I don't disagree with that.
Rent seekers. The people who live here,
we're not out of alignment.
right? The people who live here, whose families have been here for generations upon generations, and some of our families going back to the very beginning, 400 years ago, quite literally. And some of us whose families go back far before that in the lands that, you know, that first inhabited here, because down underneath, we are English. Americans are English. Now, we're uniquely American variant of English, but we are Englishmen. We go back over 1,000 years. The only people who are flooding people in here that we do not want, I don't care what they are. They could be Germans, they could be Italians, they could be more English.
Right.
Now, maybe I'll have a little exception for them because we're English. But it's not about, it is, yes, of course, about the cultural dilution and the intentional creation of the ant jar, absolutely. But the actual underlying fundamental point is we don't want any more people here.
Right.
These are our lands.
Right.
These are our children. This is our legacy that we're handing off to the future generations. And nobody has a right or privilege, no matter how much bloody, unreal money they have, to force people into our home. Right. The Fourth Amendment of the Constitution talks about this, about the quartering. Because in practice, in principle, that's what's happening, just not in our homes, but in our country. They are quartering foreigners and other people in our homes, our land. Our land is our home. I don't give a flying F who these people are. I don't care if they were the whitest white people on earth. We don't want them here. And this is the thing that's not getting through. And this is the thing that I suspect, and not racism, is going to go to blood. Because the people who measure everything in GDP, which is a totally made up fake number anyways, we don't do real GDP, right? We count liabilities as assets, and that's not GDP measure. That's not gross domestic product. That's made up numbers. But the only people who are doing this, flooding our lands with people we do not want. I don't care where they're from. The people I talk to don't care where they're from. We don't care what color their skin is. We do not want them in our house.
Don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with anything that you said.
This is the problem that we're having in the narrative, is that the overarching narrative. And again, sir, this isn't directed towards you, but you articulated the narrative, right? The counter narrative. The problem is that the normal counter narrative is still within their narrative space.
Right. I got it. Okay. So a couple of things on that. One, to continue on with this, they forced, I'm going to stay with your analogy. They forced the door open, smashed anybody looking to close that door, left it open for 4 years, and it didn't matter whether you were a rapist, a criminal, a terrorist, a nuclear bomb engineer, you could come in and not be checked because they forced the door open and they clobbered you if you thought about closing it. That's one.
And anybody who complained at the party, right? We're a party. So anybody who complained at the party or called the cops and said, hey, there's a bunch of people here that don't belong here, they got arrested.
They did. Now,
in their own party.
That's right. So there's this other way. And this is the thing that I want to stress. There is still, and it needs to be fixed. It needs to be, they won't fix it intentionally because they want to keep the door open to take away our land. But there is.
Well, they want GDP. What they're trying to do is keep matching their GDP. Yeah.
But the thing that I don't want, the thing that I want to make sure is we love people who would come and contribute to the American experiment, and that is fine. And we want a process and a legal process that we all agree to. Well, hold on. And then the last thing, and this is quibbling. It's a small point. The Quartering Act is the Third Amendment, not the Fourth. There, I'm done.
Okay, excuse me. You're right. You're absolutely right. Third Amendment, the one that nobody talks about. Right. You're absolutely right. I want to quibble one point, Rich. Terribly sorry, but I want to quibble one point before I forget. Okay. We don't even want people to come here who are contributing, because the economy that we've had for the last 30 years hasn't even been helping us.
Well, we can't do it right now. That's exactly correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'd love to have you at my house, but I don't have enough food for you. I don't have enough.
I got no job.
Accommodation.
They destroyed our economy.
Right?
Blaine, Ian, I'm conscious of the time because we do have a hard stop.
Right?
Yeah. I want to make this point that there was a medical intervention a few years ago that was all the rage, and people mistook it for something that it shared the same name with. It wasn't the same. And then I think the mass immigration that's coming through now still in Europe and the UK. People mistake it for what happened post the Second World War when Europe, and Britain in particular, was expanding and needing workers. Those were people who came here to work. Now the
Right.
people that are coming here are a new type of weapon. And it
Yeah.
doesn't, and people aren't looking at it that way because they're not going in deep. They're just considering the superficial surface level analysis. And what you guys
Well, there's
are
Sorry.
in this
Yeah,
conversation
sorry.
and in our other conversations and the other times you've been on my channel with in different
Yeah.
combinations is a deeper form of analysis that goes beyond the pretense. Now, we need to finish up. I want to thank you both, gentlemen. We will do this again. And that's an order, said the social worker. Said the social worker to the military guys, right? That's an order.
Man, I just had a 3-star pushing me around today. Now I'm getting it from the sweaties.
Oh
From a
gosh.
social worker.
From the warrant officer.
Yeah, the warrant officer. Oh, that's it. Rich is the warrant officer. All right, CW4.
All right. So I'll have all the links. Thank you so much for this conversation. And everybody, please subscribe, comment, like, go follow Blaine, go follow EM, and I'll see you soon. All the best. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.